one does what God does enough times, it becomes guidance. You put it together, you get what you wanted and desired enough times. He believes you will become one who is wanted, desired, and accepted. Because God has power. And if one does what God does enough times, one will become as God is.
What's up, we're live.
Hey, what's going on?
Hopefully we can get through this without any oh my god, we have to restart moments. That would be tremendous improvement.
No, that's not going to happen. Have faith. We got this. We got this.
You're trying. What's up, guys? It's been a heavy few days, right?
It's been busy. It's been energetic. A lot going on.
You know, I hate the whole progression that this has taken as far as a real us versus them thing, if nothing else, because it sounds fucking pathetic, right? That side, this side, it's
the
not
other
team
side.
Sports, right?
I'm with you on that, yeah.
But I feel like within the group of people that has endeavored to push back against this ridiculous conspiracy and support the families involved, right? There's been a little bit of peripheral drama here and there, mostly on Twitter, mostly having to do with people that were rejected by or otherwise left free Karen Reed kind of stumble over here and then
yes,
you know, you take your issues with you everywhere you go. But
that's
outside
true.
of that, I've never
no matter where
seen
you go,
any,
there you are.
Right. I've never seen any mass implosion, right? And part of it is there's not the same sort of structure or hierarchy. No one's making money There's not like, well, for most people, anyone with any sort of like influence that's plugged into this, right? I should say there's no drive to make money or drive to become famous or anything like that, which is obviously a major factor over at Free Karen Reed. So every time that I see one of these major implosions, it's just such a stark difference to me, right? With like what the right motivations will save you, and that's a whole lot of trouble and personal animosity with strangers.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't talk about the drive to make money and get famous off of, a murder case without immediately talking about Turtle Boy, who's at the epicenter of all this bullshit always, right?
Leader of the movement. Yeah. Look what I did. Good job, champ.
Yeah. He's got the indictments to prove it.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, once you get through the Order of the Golden Arrow, you can do anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
Those Eagle Scouts.
You will not break me.
Right. Well, I think that like the implosion with so this is, to my knowledge, the first attempt that Turtle Boy has ever made at like getting a manager and making professional connections outside of like, the radio stations that he used to call into, right?
Right.
Right. So it's been fascinating to watch how quickly and effectively he's been able to completely fuck that up.
Oh, the speed at which the bridges are going, they're being burnt? Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah, it's rapid.
Guy just walks around with a can of gasoline, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Just ready to go. So for the uninitiated here, if you guys haven't been paying attention, don't worry, we have. Turtle Boy had a manager, this guy, Matt Valentinus. Turtle Boy is so fucking stupid that he signed a contract with this guy, had no idea what he was signing whatsoever, believed that the guy was his attorney, even though this guy has now clarified and said, no, I told him verbally that I was not his attorney, and it is in the contract that he signed with his legal signature, not once, but twice, right?
Twice, yeah.
Right.
And he gave him, as far as I know, he gave him the option too, because I believe Valentinus wears many hats, right? So but he only does the one service at a time, so he's not going to be your attorney and your manager. He's going to be your attorney or your manager. He lets you decide, and I believe in this case, the decision was made managerial. And so verbally he said, okay, that means I'm not going to be your attorney. And in print, like you said, twice in print, that he signed. And apparently after that, he was still confused, was not sure what the hell was going on or what Valentinus was doing for him. Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's like a pretty good place to start if one is going to sign a contract, would be to,
understanding it.
Yeah. Or at least talking to somebody who can, Yeah. So, this contract is signed and Turtle Boy has a manager that he doesn't understand is a manager, doesn't know what he is. And so, Valentinus apparently tries to start shopping Turtle Boy around, but it's, I don't want to say it's insurmountable because obviously Valentinus was successful in getting Aiden a couple of deals before he torched the entire relationship, but like it's probably a pretty big hurdle to shop around somebody that most people don't know who the fuck he is, and the people that do are either brainwashed cult members or think that he is the ultimate dreg of society, right? Like that's probably not an easy sell.
No.
But Valentinus does it. He sells it to at least.
Yes. I mean, he kind of does. I understand what you're saying, but like I'm taking Valentinus's words for my source here. He said that it was a liability issue more than likely. He didn't believe many media companies would take him because of liability. And he said, if not for his personal relationship with Phelps, he might not have been able to pull that off. So I think it had more to do with his personal working relationship with Phelps that he sort of got the foot in the door in that situation. I don't really know he got him that much. Didn't he get him out of a contract?
No, he got him. I mean, 40% of the podcast, and he got him the
right.
the
With Phelps,
compelling
though.
picture, deal that
Okay,
is
okay.
going nowhere also, but not
Yes.
by any
Yes,
fault
right.
of Valentinus. Just,
Right, right.
who wants to who can compete with Netflix? Probably not
Yeah.
fucking Turtle Boy, like, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, at this point, something's already been announced and commissioned. Good job. So yes, but he gets him a couple things, and
Fair
obviously,
enough.
Turtle Boy has been less than thrilled with the direction that Matt Phelps took his podcast.
Yeah,
Not
he's a
Turtle
little
Boy's
upset, hey?
podcast, but like Matt
Yeah.
Phelps' podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, instead of like, I suppose that like someone signed a deal, right? So he signed a deal. And he is making a pretty generous, was supposed to make, because I have a suspicion that is probably evaporating, because I'm pretty sure, Turtle Boy posted his contract, for the podcast on his website. It was sent to me, like the whole. I mean, it looks like it's the whole thing anyway. And so
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but perusing the contract, you can kind of point out a couple
pitfalls
clauses
you
in
might
there
have
that
already
maybe
fallen down. Yeah, right.
right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're signing on the dotted line, Boomer, like, give you a contract, like, here, Boomer, and part of that is like you have to promote the podcast and do whatever you
Right.
can to make sure that it does well. I don't know if the best idea and the way that you follow that contract is to then tell everybody who will listen that the podcast is a steaming pile of shit,
Right.
and that and that the
Right.
creator is an idiot and a liar.
Liar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you
I
know-
mean, to be fair though, I might do that because I'm reckless and stupid, and but I mean, like,
No, you wouldn't.
you think a learned man would?
You wouldn't do that
do
because
such a thing?
you
No,
would
you're right.
you would read. No, listen, like you or
I
I
would
or
ask someone
anybody
else to read it
else.
for me.
And like, I just want to make it very clear that like I've been approached with projects pretty much this whole time. It's well, you know that, but just so everybody else knows that. Like I turn them down, not really interested in any of that. But if I were to agree to something, I would do my research. I would get to know the person a little bit. I would read the contract. If I didn't understand it, I would throw it by a lawyer. This is what I would do. And then if I sign up for a project, I'm going to resign myself to I am contributing what I contribute, and at the end of the day, the control is in the producer there, right? Like
Right.
whoever's actually making this content. And as long as I'm comfortable with what I'm contributing, the rest is fine, right? Like, but that's not how Turtle Boy thinks. He wants it to be all propaganda all the time. And
Yes.
that's just not how this works. So, I mean, again,
Yeah,
Boomer,
he has
let me-
no creative control in the contract at all. It's
Right.
none of that was involved. It was he wasn't a partner. I think if I remember correctly, Valentinus spoke to that specific point there that he wasn't a partner, as in he
Right.
had control or influence. No, he was cut in on a percentage of advertising revenue off
Right.
the podcast, but that's not the same thing as a partnership or anything like
it
that.
looks more like a licensing agreement.
It
you
does.
know
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, the guy is too fucking stupid to read contracts. So there you go. But let's just keep walking through this, okay, Boomer? And I'm going to use you as the example.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Let's go.
yeah. When I say you, I am referring to Boomer. Disclaimer.
Right.
All right. So,
Gotcha.
Boomer, you completely fucked up reading the contract because you're borderline legally retarded, right? And your
Yeah.
narcissism is leading you down this path, and you're like, sign on the dotted line, cool. And the episode comes out, and you're like, wow, I really hate this podcast, right?
Whoa,
How-
what did I do?
Yeah, yeah.
No, bro.
Choose your own adventure. What do you do next? Like,
Oh, I don't know. I think I go live and I defame everybody involved. I might twitch rapid head movements. I might just look insanely guilty for no reason. I might scream, meow. I don't know. A lot of things.
that's what you would choose. That is not what I
come to me. Meow. I might
That
do
is
that.
not what I would choose. That is not what I would choose. Again, I would just
Oh.
be like, whatever, like, and I would shut the fuck up, and I would push the podcast, and, I
that's-
would collect
That's
my
one way of
money.
dealing with it.
That's what I would
one way
do.
of dealing with it.
That's yeah. So you chose the Turtle Boy path, right? Which is
Oh, I
like
did?
this-
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you did.
Oh,
You
damn.
did.
Jesus, I'm doomed. Okay.
I mean, how many
Shit.
times have we observed him now doxing the producer and the former manager's number? It's got to be up to like 5 now.
Yeah, and he's coming up, of course, in short order. There's the nicknames, right? Because that's got to happen. You can't
Right.
make your case without the nicknames. So that's nice and predictable too.
Yeah, he's calling him what? He's calling Matt Phelps Phelpsy. It's real clever.
Yeah, Phelps. Never heard of you, Phelpsy. Like, it's weird. It's all weird. I mean, and I've said before, like it's like a cartoon brain at work. And I mean, even so, when you see him, I know this is sort of down the line as far as what we're covering right now, but you see him in court and he's fidgeting and twitching. I mean, he's like he's physically acting the way he's thinking now. It's like full cartoon. It's not a serious person.
Right.
It's not. No.
I think the podcast, I still like, honestly, even at some points, because I was told ahead of time, sort of like, the first couple episodes might be difficult for people who don't buy into the conspiracy to hear.
That's what I heard too.
And
yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad at all. I understand. I mean, again, it's a serial podcast, so it's a story that he's telling over time. I appreciate his storytelling and like the production behind it and the way that he lays out the story,
sure.
regardless of what kind of, because everything has a slant, but he
course.
follows the evidence down and he kind of takes you with him on that journey, which I think is really compelling. And I guess it just really shows what a cult Free Karen Reed is, and certainly what a cult leader Turtle Boy is, that any sort of, inkling of a dissenting opinion. And
no deviation from plan.
right.
No.
Just emergency time.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't permit that. No.
And
Free
I
thought,
mean-
get that out of here.
Yeah, he's accusing these people of hoodwinking and swindling him into this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he's making 40%. I don't understand how he thinks they hoodwinked or swindled him at all. I mean, it's crazy to me. Just the overblown reaction. I will be honest though, it's a little bit vindicating too, because I separated from Turtle Boy Sports in 2020. Most people know that, right? So yeah, it's sort of a thing that I can't shake off at this point, but whatever. And when I did so because, well, like the number one reason was that Turtle Boy is impossible to work with, and he's mean and shady and narcissistic and all the things that I think like most people, that have been around here a while have heard me talk about, right? And
Sure.
he makes up stories and lies. She stole from me. She tried to sabotage me from my, my blog from the inside by making people like her more. Like just crazy shit, right? And I didn't steal from him for the 57th time, and I've posted the receipts a million times. What he is referring to as stealing is simply he had me doing my own YouTube show on his channel. He told my group that was working on this to monetize, and then we would give him, I believe it was 25% before costs, right? So we're paying all the production costs for studio and equipment and anything, subscriptions, whatever we're using. And then before we subtract all those costs, just the gross, we're giving him 25% and then just kind of throwing the scraps back into the production costs and splitting it between 5 people. It wasn't a very fair deal, but it was what it was. And I had gotten an advertiser, and long story short, I went by the sort of the industry standard CPM rate for advertising with this advertiser. And at the time, my stream was getting more, views than Aiden's was when he would stream. And I undercut Aiden. And I didn't even know at the time that I was undercutting him, because I was so detached from anything financial with the blog. I never knew how much he was making. I knew what he was paying me, which most of the time was peanuts. I was under the impression that he was making no money when he probably was making money. Like there was no intersection there. So of course I don't know.
Your undercutting was you attempting to stick to sort of industry standards
and not screw the advertiser over.
That's right. Yeah. Trying to build up your rep.
In doing so,
with
I find out, when this whole thing blew up and I separated, because the advertiser that was in question here actually took my side. It was Garage Doors Plus, great company, great guy. I have nothing but fond feelings for that guy. And he took my side in the dispute rather than Aiden's side, in part because I didn't do anything wrong. I did exactly what Aiden had told me me to do, and he was getting his money and we were getting next to nothing. We were making him
Right.
money, right?
Yeah.
But also because, yeah, I mean, that's where the anger came from, and that's really where that separation. I didn't get fired from Turtle Boy. I quit, and I say that with air quotes because it's not really set up like a legitimate job would be in any way, right?
Mm.
Like, $200 a month, and you got to churn out a bunch of blogs you don't want to write, and then listen to this fucking basket case call you at all hours of the day and night talking about crazy, bullshit. 40
I
something
can't
year old
imagine
man
that
child.
would happen. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I should
Hard to
probably
imagine
sue
that.
that guy at some point for like, unfair theft or, wage theft or something, because I was
Right.
not getting paid for what I was doing. But either way, neither here nor there. He concocted this story to cover for the fact that he is a shady person. He's not a good person. He's impossible to work with. He's not likable. He's unreasonable. He's, rigid and controlling and narcissistic and shady, right? So now that I'm seeing some seasoned professionals, some people that have absolutely no personal history with Turtle Boy before this or after this, it looks like
Mm-hmm.
Matt Valentinus was actually a bit of his fan, right? Like positive impression of Aiden Carney
At the
going into
very
this.
least, yeah, at the very least, I think he was like a casual viewer that enjoyed some of the content. So yeah, he didn't go into it disliking uh, Turtle Boy, not at all. No, no, he wasn't primed to hate him off the rip. And if anything, he was
Yeah,
into some of his content. So
but now people can see
yeah,
that he's just impossible to work with, right? Like, I
yeah,
mean, in every single
yeah,
one of these situations, Aiden wants to walk away and make the other person the problem. And he is
yes,
so sick and twisted and, internet addicted and
oh,
vindictive and awful that he believes, I think, in his heart that if he can just convince enough random strangers online that this is the truth, that it suddenly
mm-hmm,
becomes the truth. And it's not.
mm-hmm,
And, I guess the one sort of silver lining in that is that, you've got these people in Matt Valentinus and Matt Phelps who walk in and try to do legitimate business and, work on a legitimate project with this guy. And you can't manipulate the truth offline,
no, no, no.
Yeah.
All that good faith didn't work out in the end. You
Yeah.
know,
How livid
it's
do you think Karen Reed is over this podcast fiasco?
over
Because
the
she's not the one
podcast.
who signed up
Oh
for it,
shit!
right?
No, 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 no. I would assume intensely choked, livid, pissed, enraged, the whole nine. I mean, she in the correspondence that we did see that was leaked recently, she was very upset, the bad publicity that he was accruing out there, right? It led to her kind of icing him out for a good period of time. um Now it's not the same, it's not the same reason, it's not legal trouble per se. Well, it might be with I don't know if he gets any legal ramifications for um breaking any of the trust in the contract, but
He's probably getting sued.
just for
That would be my guess.
I
I mean,
think so, but I don't know. I would
well,
assume.
I'll tell you why I'm assuming so, because I'm watching the podcaster and the ex-manager, and they're, starting to try to assert their copyright rights, and they're definitely
Right.
unhappy. And I mean, like, his former manager is now referring him to perv boy, not without provocation,
Yes.
might I add. He's calling him perv boy because, Aiden, of course, starts calling this guy fat, like this successful manager,
Okay, since
entertainment
you
lawyer.
said it, yeah, I think
Yeah,
he's like Fatty Matty or something, like a Garbage
right,
Pail Kid card, like really
right.
stupid shit. Like you're an adult, bro. But yeah, no, no, I think she's livid because I mean, think about it. He's done it again, right? She's spent, or I'm assuming she's spent, someone has spent an exorbitant amount of money not only on her legal defense but on the effort to sell a narrative to get out ahead of the trial, to, I don't know, my guess would be to influence jurors, but I don't know why else you
Right,
would do that.
right.
um and that's a lot of effort. I mean, most of the YouTubers that are now within their umbrella of, their celebrity tier of YouTubers, as seen in the fundraiser recently, they had very low subscriber numbers until they were given this narrative to sell the salacious story. Um, that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of money. And all of a sudden now we've got somebody with decades-long career, accolades, published author, actual award-winning journalist, come along with a solid professional production that just completely, with logic and reason, dissolves the conspiracy theory and puts light and heat on the defense, on Reed herself. I mean, that's what he brought her now. That's the newest bird the dog brought in the house, like that's or cat brought in the house. That's just nuts.
Not just
Like,
that, but I mean, she's so reliant on the media, right?
yes. Well,
She's
yeah.
reliant,
Yeah,
and
that's the
we'll
crux of
get
it
to
all.
that as we go into the latter half of our show, where we discuss how she clearly prefers the media and content creators to the people that are blood, sweat, and
Oh,
tears out there
yes.
for her,
Yeah.
right? But she's
Yes.
reliant on the media. So I mean,
Hmm.
Turtle Boy, as ostensibly a representative of Karen Reed, not
Hmm.
only signs on to this podcast that clearly, the message was not received, that it was supposed to be a puff piece propaganda for Karen, right? So they've
Right.
examined the facts, and it's not favorable to Karen because of that. So he signed on
Hmm.
to that and contributed to more bad press for Karen Reed. But also, as a representative of Karen Reed, he is acting a fool with the manager
Oh yeah, with
and
how
the
he's dealing
podcaster.
with it.
Right.
That's
So I
well,
mean,
that's just insult to injury, right? That's just more of the dumpster fire. It's just
Matt
spilling all
Phelps
over,
is a big
spilling
podcaster. He's
everywhere.
award winning. Like, he's an
Yep.
award winning podcaster, literally, not some Reader's
Yes.
Choice, 1997 Worcester Magazine bullshit.
Correct.
And he has a large audience, much larger than Turtle Boy, much larger than Free Karen Reed. But outside of that, he's really plugged into the true crime community. So not only is it like the effect that it has on this guy's followers and, Karen Reed's reputation and the narrative out in public, but he's also clearly, I would assume anyway, so I shouldn't say clearly, more likely than not, pretty plugged in with other media and journalists. And so.
If you believe Valentinus's words, yes, he's got a network
Right.
of support. Yeah, he's got a full structure going on there. And I think something that Turtle Boy mistook, like, let me just say this: Phelps isn't like a YouTuber type of person. You know what I mean? Like, he's not
Right.
an internet personality. Like, that's not his terrain. He has an actual career as an author, right? He's helped with films and television, books, the whole nine, but not as an internet personality. So I think in Turtle Boy's mind, that equates to like, who knows you? Like, you're nobody unless you're a talking head on YouTube. And it's like,
Right.
no, I think he made a big mistake there in assuming that one is equal to the other. It's not. It's just not. That's foolish. But hey, meow.
Oh, Andy, I don't always win. That was a joke. But, long term, there's only so much dirt that these people can do to me before they have to hit their own. And so I can kind of just sit back and know that it's a real battle versus the war situation most of the time. I usually come out okay.
Yep. It definitely is that situation. It's the short term versus the long term completely.
Yeah.
And we're starting to round the corner. So it's taken forever. It takes a long time to get there, but we're starting to see the house of cards falling, the implosion.
Well,
It's it's starting.
I know that and I don't think these things. I actually know them, but I know that moving down the line with future projects, around Karen Reed, that most of the other companies that are looking at this, doing, Phelps project will definitely inform other projects. But they're following the trend that was already, again, I'm presuming this guy is really plugged in, that he has a network, right? Obviously the agent as well. So they know the writing on the wall. There's a lot of chat. If I know they definitely know. So, like, the
Oh yeah, of
future
course.
of Karen Reed centric content on a much
Ooh.
larger scale than some jerk off from Kentucky's YouTube channel with, 35,000 subscribers, 39, whatever, right in our sphere, which is like a drop in the bucket, even 100,000 if they're
Hmm.
real, which I think was another issue that Turtle Boy ran into with the manager and the podcaster. He
Yeah.
promised some things, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
that just aren't real. But I mean, these are much bigger projects, and like, it's not good for Karen.
No. No, it's really not. She put all that time and effort and money, like I said, into controlling and selling a narrative, and to have it undone by a bigger entity or entities, right? Because yeah, I agree with you. I think it's his production's going to inform other productions.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. You know, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure every once in a while, Karen has that inner dialogue of, I should have looked into him further. I should have done a little bit more research. But,
Speaking of bridge burning, right? Because, like,
yeah,
Turtle Boy is not the only one in torching
no,
relationships this week. No, 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 no,
no.
no. Nay, nay. Karen Reed is also doing her part, too. God bless her.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. You can hear the pom poms hitting the ground from here. Like yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, it's not
it's
just
something
Rita, though.
else.
Like, I was sent a bunch of stuff, and it was
How
not
were
just
you
Rita.
now? Okay,
Yeah. No, no, no.
I'm
There are
aware
other
of Rita.
people. Yeah, I think
Okay,
some of the smaller
like
YouTubers definitely were offended. Like Dina, the snub was weird. So guys, sorry, let me back up because like I know we know what we're talking about, but that doesn't mean that everybody does, right? So over the weekend,
mm,
Karen Reed had a private event at the Fall River Country Club. Why Fall River needs a country club is beyond me. But, she's balling on a budget. So they ended up in Fall River Country Club, right? So they have this little private thing, and it is the number's unclear because at one point they were claiming 250, but then they kind of dial it back to maybe 200. Then it was like, oh, it was all just Karen's friends and family and maybe 30 other people. I don't know.
hmm. Oh, did we freeze? What's going on?
I was
I
listening to
think.
Biff. Sorry. Yes. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
I was
she's
like,
in.
no, we're doing so good. We're gonna have a
No,
techno
no, no.
issue. Uh-oh.
No, he's saying that, if she just would have pledged, she would have been in jail now, but now they're just bleeding, another $1 million trial plus
I believe that too.
exclusive
Yeah.
events at the Fall River Country Club. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So they have this thing and they keep it a secret. And like it wasn't a really well kept secret because like a few of them on social
No.
media, Turtle Boy was an offender. A few other people in the Facebook groups were like, "Oh, we have an event to go to." Like, "Oh, I have an engagement.
Hmm.
There's an event. There's an event." And like my right hand to God, you can go in the Discord when somebody was like, "Oh, I wonder what that's all about." I was like, "I bet it's dinner with Karen Reed." Like it was not a good kept secret, but like whatever. It
Yeah.
wasn't us that they were keeping the secret from. It was their own people.
Right.
So they have this
Right. Right.
event, and they keep it a secret until the night of, and then the pictures go all over social media. And they go
Yeah.
over social media, and naturally, all the people that were excluded get upset. And like, do you think they're justified?
Me? Yeah, actually, I do. I do. I think if you like my opinion of what they were involved in and what they did and what they cheered for is still withstanding, right? Like I'm not impressed with any of that shit. But if I put myself in their shoes and imagine that I spent like 50 hours a week, maybe more, supporting the cause, the movement, putting my pension on the line with it, my time, doing wonderfully choreographed pom pom dances and all sorts of shit, and then I was sort of snubbed. Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd be pretty pissed. So I think their gripe is valid. I do. You
I
know,
mean, like,
they were they were shut out. And that's
on one hand, it's like, what did you expect?
exactly. I understand it but that's from our position here,
Right.
outside looking in. Like, oh, you dummies, you're into some dumb shit. You should have known. But if you were them, would you be pissed like you got shut out? Probably. I know I would
And
be.
I think that it's fair enough in the fact that, like, you know, they tried to backpedal when they were called out for this. The YouTubers
The number
that were,
changed, didn't it?
not
Wasn't
only
it
did the number change, but they made up ridiculous excuses like, oh, it was just an event for Karen's friends and family, and there were a
Right.
few YouTubers there as the entertainment. Like, first of all, there's videos out there. They were not entertainment. At one point, Mazza Media like stands up and they're all clapping for him and acknowledging and appreciating him, right? It was a night of appreciation. That much is clear. She just priced out and cut out the little people. And I mean, some of these people, and again, like, I don't agree with what they're doing, but on principle, they're doing more than the YouTubers are. They're out on the street for her rate. I mean, like, some of these people were in front of that courthouse like 40 hours a week almost for
No,
10
for real.
fucking weeks, right?
For 10 weeks. Yeah, it was a lot, you know. That's why I say if I put in that much, then yeah, I would feel snubbed, shut out, the whole nine.
And it's not like it was just like, you know, I think I made this comparison last night when we were kind of going, you know, talking about this a little bit too. It's like YouTube has events and expos for their streamers, right? And
Right.
like, you know, you have to meet a certain criteria threshold. That's fine. And like, not everybody on YouTube gets to go to these events or gets an invite, right? Whatever.
Right.
They're not hiding it from the public or from people, though. Right, there's
No.
an understanding that like we're having this event and this and this criteria, and we'll stream it, and you, because that's, I mean, these YouTubers double dip. Not only did they get invites to this event that a lot of people who are local, who are boots on the ground, and there's not that many free Karen Reed supporters really. I think they've maxed out at maybe like 300 people in front
Somewhere
of the
around
courthouse.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at the peak.
But like, you know.
And wait, isn't Mazza Media? Isn't he the Paul Rubens with gigantism? Is he?
Yeah,
isn't
some
that
of
him?
these channels, honestly, they don't
He's-
have.
He's entertainment. That's some wild shit to say. I'm sorry, man. Like that can't be part of the new normal. That's entertainment now. Fuck me.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, you know, they invited a couple of.
I mean, taste is
retired-
subjective to a point. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Like to a point. Like what the fuck?
Oh, see, Rita's actually in the chat right here, right now. I see, and she says, you know, this
The
is about doing
Rita?
what's right and fighting for our innocence, and now it's about how deep our pockets in. I am beyond distraught. This is what it's come to. I mean,
Oh damn.
it's what it's been the whole time. But I get it. Like, it is. It's shitty.
It
It's
is
shitty.
shitty. It was shitty from the start. It would have been a more ideal situation if more people had keyed into the bullshit earlier. But if this is your wake up call, then I mean, like, start getting used to saying I'm sorry to a whole bunch of people.
Right. I mean, it's a cult. I mean, Karen will take her supporters' money and their free labor and their efforts, because there is no Karen Reed movement without these fucking schmucks that were sitting in front of
Yeah.
the courthouse all the time. The media would not care if it was
No,
just
that
Turtle
created a
Boy with a
spectacle.
megaphone.
Yeah.
Honestly, if
Yeah.
if Turtle Boy just showed up on his own and held a megaphone out, like, nobody, like, the media, everybody would just dismiss him as the mentally ill little person that he is, right? It's the
Yes.
crowds
Yes.
that made it notable. It's the crowds that, you know, I mean, Turtle Boy knows it to a certain extent. He uses footage of the crowds in his intro to make himself look bigger and make Karen look bigger.
Of course.
Right? But
Yeah.
Karen doesn't actually give a fuck enough about that to like invite these people too. And you know, there are people in there. It was not just her friends and family. There's somebody on Twitter, this Jen Murphy woman, looks like a fucking Roblox character, is like on me like white on rice right now,
Jesus.
bragging about how she was honored to meet Karen Reed for the first time at this event. Like, these are strangers
She-
too. I
she's like a
guarantee she's a
celebrity to
big
these
donator. Yeah, it's weird.
so
It's weird
bizarre.
anyway.
It is really weird. Will you sign my poster? What in the? I saw a clip of that. I was like, this is
What kind of
surreal.
narcissist throws a fundraiser for themselves anyway?
I don't know. You'd think you'd be uncomfortable. It's like having a picture. Maybe this is gonna offend people. I don't know. But having like a painting of yourself in your own living room, just alone. You know, I. It's the same kind of weirdness to me.
And
Like,
it's
why
not
do you have
like
that?
this is
Who's
not
that for?
this is not some sort of like capacity issue or anything else like that. That's a lie, and you know that because they hid it from their followers, right? These people have had comedy show fundraisers and Halloween party and this and that, and they've never had an issue. They sell tickets, they publicize it, they, you know, sell out of tickets when they sell out. Everybody gets to be there. No big deal, right? Like there's no exclusion.
But
that didn't happen here. That didn't
no
happen
McPoyles allowed. No McPoyles allowed at this one. You know, you guys have your own thing. Yeah, if they were smart though. When I say they, I mean whoever put on this fundraiser directly. If it wasn't Karen herself, they would have grabbed at least a few tokens. Like honestly, first come to mind would be Rita. It'd be somebody like Rita, maybe Rita and a couple others, and say, look, yeah, the capacity is what it is. We can't invite everybody. It can't be like the Halloween party. But hey, you know what? We can pack 5 of you in here.
That's what I mean. Like, they're not going to big venues. They go to like Elks Lodges and VFWs. Like they're small capacity anyway. They sell tickets. I don't know that they actually sell out of tickets. Probably not.
If it's small
but
enough
either way,
venue,
like there's no exclusion there. It's a public event. You either buy a ticket or you don't. But that's not what Karen did, right? Because she's a snob, and she wanted to keep out people who are too poor or too embarrassing. And I think that Rita, no offense, I don't really care if you're offended or not, but like you probably fit into the latter.
Yes.
That Tom is a creep says the same thing. They're embarrassed by Rita. It's all optics, right? Exactly.
Yes. Now, with that said, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not? They invited Tom though, yes. Yeah. Tom was there.
That's a fucking mystery.
It is, right? Like I'm assuming it's twofold, right? It's like placate the little guy because you know he might know where something's buried, like you know that kind of thing. Plus, you know, if your channel or whatever, you know, has like 5 subscribers, and then once you're brought on board, you dart up to a few thousand, etc. You make a couple dollars off super chats, what have you.
Right.
They might want to keep that core together, and Tom was included in that. So even though he threatened the life of an unborn child, they still rock with Tom because that's the kind of people these people are. Apparently, that's interesting.
That's the other thing too. Is like, okay, so Thursday, Friday, all these group chat messages. Guys, I've not been blogging a lot. I've just been like, you know, all over the place with everything going on, and I'm not going to complain about my plight, but like, you know, Turtle Boy is a psychopath, so dealing with the fallout from, just the harassment is sometimes a lot on top of like all the life stuff I have to do. So I don't blog every day, but I am writing a blog about the history and the lore with Turtle Boy in the group chats, because like I just think that the public deserves to see how many times he's fucked himself over in a group chat and how many times he's been like, I'll never use another group chat again, like he's a 12-year-old girl. It's great. But anyway,
I'll never screw everyone over again. Yeah, never. If only, right?
So
I can't control myself. Yeah.
Like Thursday, Friday, these group messages leak out, really implicating Karen Reed in the witness intimidation, right? And Saturday, she's at an event, partying, schmoozing it up with all these people that are connected.
That's gotta be uncomfortable
in one way or another. To like Tom DeRosa, he hasn't been charged with witness intimidation yet. Maybe not at all, but at least yet. But he's been mentioned in police reports about. You know what I mean? Like his name has come up, right? And she's hanging out with them for hours, taking pictures, taking video, knowing that there's the possibility of another grand jury looming, and she's like, let me just go ahead and attach to these people more.
There's a
like,
very high possibility, probably.
Just remember that Katie McLaughlin being in a photo with Caitlin Albert from like high school in the cult's mind qualified them as being co-conspirators in a plot. Friends, right. Just pictures on social media, that was enough. So by the cult's own standards here, Karen just implicated herself in this whole conspiracy even more too, because now there's social media pictures of her with these people.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was a great move. That was a smart move. Very smart. And then they published the photos all over the place publicly. Yeah. That's another real smart thing to do. You know what I mean? Like if those photos were to be indicative of, being complicit in a conspiracy, right? Wouldn't you want to kick yourself in the ass for being the person that possibly is under investigation for that kind of shit? And you're one of the people that published the photos that show that? That's a weird cartoon brain move.
Right.
That's some Daffy Duck kind of shit. Like, what are you doing? You know? Yeah. It's
This is
crazy.
the other YouTubers. How dare you not stick up for KR? It's all about KR. You can't be mad. See, the thing is, the world is not all about Karen Reed. I know that is what she has
No.
created, this weird little microcosm on
They're
the internet.
weird
But yeah,
is the
it's not
is the
all
word
about,
of the day for
yeah.
it. Yeah, that echo chamber is weird, and it is not that big. It's not. It's not as big as they like to believe it is. That's for
I
damn
mean,
sure.
and on top of all this, bridge burning and snubbing, and I hope that, honestly, people should stand out for her less just based on principle, because I don't know, I guarantee if they went to the next 2 court dates and were like, you know what, nope, we're not going, we're just gonna at least a couple of them, no one's showing up, right? I bet she'd throw an event and invite all of them out of sheer desperation.
Oh,
Why do you
yeah,
want to
out
be
of
around
panic.
someone who treats you like that anyway, though?
Out of absolute
Yeah.
panic, she would do something
Right.
like that. Yeah, damage control. And you got to think of this too. Think of this too. If somebody's being nice to you because they're feeling that it's an act of damage control, do you really think they're grateful for you? I mean, that's a stretch. I know that's a leap, but do you really think they give 2 shits about you? No, obviously not. But
Sorry, I
yeah,
just saw a
there's a
comment.
lot.
Somebody said Turtle Boy's taking off like a rocket. Yeah, Turtle Boy's taking off like the Challenger. That's,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, straight into
Oh,
a
it's
brick
going really
wall.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Little bit of up for a minute, and then it just crashes, and there's fire everywhere.
It's an
That's
Acme
pretty
rocket.
much what's happening. Yeah.
We've seen that. We know it's this cartoon land. This shit ain't real, man. It can't be real. People can't be this fucking cartoonish. It can't be real. You know, said by a dude in the dark. What am I in a closet and shit with my ski goggles on? And I'm telling you, shit's not real. Come on.
Tom is a creep brings up a good point that the career Domino's pizza man, the grifter who assaulted his disabled son and a woman, because that's right.
Right.
Will has the assault charges on women and the thing with the son. Although the kid was
Yes.
17 at the time. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
okay, but sometimes that happens. But they got an invite over at Rita. Yeah, what has Rita ever done to anyone other than be obnoxious? I mean, she really has given up a lot too. She's got family that won't talk to her
She-
anymore. She looks like an
Yeah.
asshole in court. Half of her community despises her.
Yes.
She's given up
Yes.
money. I think she might have stepped away from her job at Apple. I mean,
think-
yeah.
She might be surprised too at the treatment she and again we prefaced he's kicked off the show with how we don't like the term other side and whatnot like that, but I'm going to use it. I think she'd be surprised. She might be feeling it right now that her side, air quotes, are the ones that are harassing the shit out of her right now over her post, her statement, walking back her support due to being snubbed. It's like you're gonna get that treatment from one place. That's got to be sobering. That's got to be an eye opener. That even I think Rita would read. I think she would understand. And not for nothing, all that asinine behavior, all the dancing and the crying on camera and the acting up that Rita did for the cause, that's enshrined in forever record on the internet. It doesn't go away. So after you've said sorry, less forgiving people might still run that on a highlight reel on God knows where. For how long, I don't know. It's indeterminate. You're not in control of it anymore. It's just out in the ether, looking like a real shithead. That's got to be a sinking feeling.
I feel
as
like
well.
the podcast apocalypse.
But
the
podcast apocalypse.
the Phelpsening, as I like to call it.
The Phelpsening? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
The Phelpsening.
Oh, my God.
And
Yeah.
and the party snub are harbingers of the apocalypse, I
Yes.
think, for Karen Reed.
It
Because
is.
as
It's
all this stuff is happening, the Commonwealth is really working very diligently to pull together their case under the leadership of Hank Brennan.
Oh,
And I don't
Hank
want to take away
Brennan.
from Lally, because a lot of
Yeah.
what they have now is the foundation that Lally set up here. But Hank Brennan is
Yeah.
coming in and taking a very streamlined, aggressive. He also has the benefit of, there was a trial, right?
Hmm.
75% of the jury per the defense's version. 9 out of 3. I heard, or not 9 out of 3, 9 out of 12.
Yeah, it
I
was
heard
nine to
10
three.
out of
That's what I
12,
heard.
but either way,
I
nine to
heard nine.
three.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Either way,
no,
it's not.
that's
It's not
what the
good.
defense said. But 75% on the low end of the
Hmm.
jury voted,
On the low.
not
Yes.
voted,
Yeah.
but were willing to convict her on at least manslaughter, right? Which is still
Yes.
criminal
Yes.
responsibility for this guy's
Af-
death. So they've had that
yeah.
trial and now can kind of
Yeah.
tighten everything up. And so, I mean, it's not looking good for her. And today's hearing, I think,
Oh,
was a sign of
yeah.
that, if nothing else.
F- um, One thing I noticed with Brennan right off the bat was his economy of words. I watched his statements at the pretrial hearing today a few times, because he doesn't waste words. He just says everything so succinctly. I had to like rewind and like to get the full power of everything he was saying. And no, he's a problem for Reed, an absolute problem for Reed. He's leaving nothing unturned. You know, I mean, he's what did he put in for the parents' phone records? Because
Yep.
he wants to see if there's a pattern or not of Karen calling her. We'll just say parents, because it could be one or the other.
Right.
When I say that, I mean like maybe she called her dad's phone to reach him. I don't know what she was thinking, but she called her parents. Um, he's trying to see if there's a pattern that she does that often, because it was at what 1:30 in the morning,
One
something like
thirty, and
that.
then again, I think at 4, and then again after 6. Yeah, so
Right,
I bet
right.
there's not. I bet that
No,
she doesn't
probably not.
often call. I mean,
Probably not.
at 40 something years old, this
Yeah,
smart, sophisticated, successful woman, right?
yeah.
There's not much that you need to call your elderly parents about at one
Mm-mm.
o'clock in the morning.
No, I like that he touched on the inference of well, when he said that she called her father from what would have been in the back of a police car during the unfolding tragedy of what was happening, the death of John. Um, he found it sort of incredulous or hard to believe that that she would have been referring to bumping into the car when she was talking to her father. Is that's the angle that the defense has been
Oh,
taking with her
and
statements?
here's something else that we know too, that we need to point out, that hopefully the prosecution is aware of. But
Mm,
Karen wasn't even aware that she hit that traverse until they got the ring camera back through discovery, and her cousin actually pointed it out. And
right.
Karen told this to somebody in text, right? So like, she's
Okay.
made this statement, it's hers, right? So like,
Yes.
there's no way, if you didn't even know that it happened until a year later when you're viewing the video going, oh my god, there it is, you
Yeah.
certainly were not thinking about that
And
morning.
Brennan's not letting that
Right.
slide. He's
No.
on these very minute details. Well, not minute, but I mean to the casual observer, yeah, a little bit more subtle than let's say broken taillight pieces. I don't think he's just standing on the strongest points of the case as the be all end all. I think he's going to paint the picture with every piece of evidence he can find, and some of it he believes he's going to find in the unredacted interviews spread out through a few media companies. I think Fox and what was the other? There was a few there. The Boston Globe, I know, was one. And if I recall correctly, Brennan says that he is looking now. I'll preface this with what Karen said when she left the courthouse, saying that it's a fishing expedition for Brennan to look for quote confessions and admissions. Brennan in court nodded there was confessions and admissions in the material he already had, in his opinion. What he was doing was seeking this unredacted information. He was doing that because he said it was because of all the inconsistencies between the stories, between the different outlets, and how she was changing her story, sometimes seemingly at the pace of discovery. So I don't think Karen even really understood what she was listening to when she was in court today. She might have been shell shocked with what's going on. Like reality's catching up, you know. but that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see what's in that redacted information.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too that she almost, I mean, she came out hot, almost like she was angry about, and immediately tries to deflect off to the media because they happen to be. It was a very manipulative move, right? Because if you listen to Hank Brennan during his argument and read his brief, he is not saying, I think that the news media has confessions that they're just sitting on, right?
Nope.
He's saying she made a lot of admissions. She said things that don't jive, that don't reconcile with
right.
other things she said, right? And
The inconsistencies in changing stories.
right. And
Yeah.
he knows this because the news media did publish enough for it to be an
Yes.
issue for Karen, right? So she
Yes.
immediately flips it around when she sees the media outside and goes, they're saying that you guys are hiding a confession. That would be malfeasance on your part, right? Trying to almost like
That's
rally
right.
them in, like, now they're going after, the prosecution's going after all of us, right, guys? But
Right.
they're not. And I think that what people need to understand about, the media in general is they don't actually give a fuck about giving up this stuff. They're going to fight it because they have to, because it's there. But at the end of the day, if they have to give it up,
Yeah.
there's no moral issue with what's going to happen to Karen Reed that's going to give them any pause, right? That's not the issue
No.
here, right? It's just simply like
No.
if you're a news station reporter, something like that just gives all of your work
It's-
product up,
Right.
fight,
It's
right?
it's
not
for
good for
professional
business.
reputation is what it's for,
Right.
because nobody's ever going to want to be a source to a news story if they know that network they're getting involved with is constantly, easily, with no pressure or even ask, giving over all information, right? Like this, they need to be compelled, and they need to be pushed to give it up to preserve that integrity. So yeah, no, it's a move that all media or journalistic outlets would do. They'd have to. They'd be silly if they didn't. Um, you know. Now I got a question for you. When Reed came out of court and she said what she said about the malfeasance, do you think that she said that because she was wholly unaware of what had transpired? She didn't know what she was hearing, or that it was just her knee-jerk default manipulative behavior?
Yeah.
I do too. I think it's the manipulation just coming right to the surface, right?
Yeah.
Because I think
that's
she's
exactly
more
what it was.
intelligent. Yeah, I think she understands what's going on, and that
I'm sure she's
that
angry
pressure
about
her
it
to say
too.
that.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think she really wants to face how ill-advised this media tour was. She couldn't keep her story straight, and that's gonna probably come and bite her in the ass. Not to mention, they're going to do the reassembly and then the retesting of the chip off.
The chip on. That's right. Yeah.
Chip
Chip
on,
off,
chip
chip
off.
on, chip
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
chip off. Yeah. It's the chip on now. They're taking the modules and they're reconnecting them to the board in the vehicle. And then they're going to use new and updated software to look for the data that Brennan believes
Right.
is potentially there. And there's a good reason to believe that, because the discrepancy was gigabytes, right? We're not talking a small amount of data. This is a substantial amount could be there.
Right.
I have hope that they'll find some interesting telemetrics. I mean, what they already have is pretty damning. The reverse sudden stop. What I can't remember the exact number, but 77% of the gas pedal was down for that short reverse. But it'd be interesting to see what they find. I think that's December 5th. They're putting the chips back in. I think on the
Yes. Yeah, I
second
believe
or
I
third
believe
is
you're
when
correct.
they're getting the modules. So that'll be interesting.
It's so
Yeah,
strange
no.
to me too that the cult is fine with the defense objecting to all this stuff. I mean, even the argument for the phone record. Like, I'll tell you this much. Because I happen to know the victims in the Turtle Boy case, and because I, shared information with the police, the cult is convinced that I am, somehow this giant mastermind running the whole thing, and they want
Yes.
nothing more than for the contents of my entire cell phone to be released to the defense for Turtle Boy, so that they can presumably do to me what, like, how do
To
I put this
expose the
politely?
conspiracy.
Right.
Yeah,
There,
yeah.
Well, no, because there's no conspiracy to be exposed.
No, but that's what they
What
believe, though.
What they
They
want
believe it.
is to find personal information to humiliate me with, which it's very hard to humiliate me. You guys should
Yeah.
keep that in mind, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
not exactly a wallflower, but like, you know, just because of like my tenuous connection to that, entitled to everything, right? You've got her parents here and a legitimate ask for it, and they're only asking for phone records. They don't even want to get into their cell phones, and they're all up in arms about an invasion of privacy. At no
That's
point,
correct.
like,
Yeah.
unless you're
Yeah.
doing
No.
something really shady, there's nothing to
Yeah.
hide in your phone records. It's just who you're calling. Who cares?
Yeah,
I would
and
care
for how
more
long.
than
Yeah.
Bill Reed should care, because Adam Lally and Hank Brennan are not going to fire up a live stream on YouTube and just randomly start cold calling people off of Bill Reed's phone records.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Aiden
yeah.
Carney will. Right? So
Yeah,
just say,
yeah,
right,
I've seen him
like
do
there's
that.
there's nothing there. But I think it's interesting because like if it's so typical and normal for Karen Reed to call her elderly parents at 1:00 in the morning, wouldn't you want to show that?
Right.
If you got nothing to hide, if you're
I would- yeah,
marshaled
if there was
every
a pa-
resource for the truth.
I mean, Brennan said if he found that there was a pattern, he would see that his inference was not
Yep.
rational, and that's
Yep.
why he wants to clear this, right? So yeah, I mean, if you knew, if I was Karen and I know I call my parents in the wee hours of the night, at least once a week, at least would probably satisfy it, right? Um, then yeah, I'd want you to see that if that was the tree you were barking up, yeah, I'd want to halt that as quickly as possible. Yeah, I would want to comply to just put that to rest, but strange that they don't want to.
Shout out to Bonnie Coy, the turtle rider in our chat right now.
All right. What's up,
Probably one
Bonnie?
of the smartest ones. She says, get back out there on Main Street in Brockton to get your cock addictions because you're a bunch of fucking losers.
What?
Compelling argument.
Okay.
The turtle cult, everyone.
That's
Thank you. Thank
that's
you for
witty. That's
Yeah.
fucking wow.
Yeah.
You got a future, Bonnie. You got a future.
Mark Bedwetero, love the name, by the way. This is my buddy here. I see him across a lot of chats. Mark Bedwetero is like a perfect
Okay.
name, right? But
Yes.
he says,
It's got a
you
ring
know,
to
that
it.
if Turtle Boy will be a broke cow if KR is convicted, I would say that he's probably going to get sued anyway, and like conviction or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Let's not forget, guys. O.J. Simpson was acquitted, but he was civilly sued and lost.
Yes.
saying, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, let's say there's a possibility of a breach of contract and civil suits. Like, it's a mountain to climb. You know, it's gonna take up his life for a while.
Yeah, I mean, done. But I think there's a pretty high likelihood that the second time around, they're probably going to get a conviction, at least on manslaughter. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, depending on how things go. I mean, there's stuff brewing in the background that,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
we can't even really talk about right now. But if I were Karen Reed, I would not be sleeping well.
No, no, and again, I know I mentioned before, but yeah, that imagine that there's certain things that we don't talk about because the trial, the seeking of justice is more important than content, you know, something that the weird grifty set doesn't seem to really care about. They probably think we're weird for it. Sure they do. Get your money. Why aren't you?
It's going to be
Some
bad
things are more
for
important,
all of
man.
it. Paula Sutton says you are all cockheads. Guys, you're so... This is what I mean. Like,
Ouch.
when your position is so weak, right? Like, because the underlying position that you're taking, that you just, at the first sign of any sort of dissenting opinion or, you know, contradicting facts, right? And there's a
Yeah.
lot of that in this case. You lose your minds and spurg out. Like, that's a really good
Yeah.
indication that you're probably not dying on the right hill.
No, I mean that for certain. And I mean, there's the sidecar of like, it's just evidence that you blow goats. You're kind of lame, you know, like just to be superficial about it, but like come with something better, dude. You,
Big Dad Giga Chad comes in.
slow energy. Slow
He
energy.
says Karen sleeps upside down in a closet. Yeah,
Yeah. They're Nosferatu hands.
Can you see the chat box? I thought I shared it with you.
Oh, yeah. I see it.
Okay,
I
good.
see it. I see it.
Yeah,
I just
Karen
usually
never
zone
mentioned
out.
having carpet in the
While I'm
climate
talking.
controls. I know.
Yeah.
Can you hear the TTS when it comes in? I did that more so that
I didn't hear anything. I saw it come up, but I didn't hear anything. No.
damn it.
No.
We'll figure it
We'll
out.
figure it
this
out,
was
yeah.
pretty this was actually pretty smooth compared to how it has
way
been.
more even keel so far. Knock on wood. Yeah, no, it'll get better. You know,
Bonnie Coy, what are you even saying?
who fucking knows?
This woman is illiterate.
I mean, like, yeah, bless their hearts. A lot of these little pinheads are kind of interesting, right? The way they think, It's
Betsy Gorman says, either way, a maiden's life was taken, and there has to be some justice, whether it was from being in the house or being struck. They have to get some sort of
sure.
resolution for it. I agree. The only thing that I would
Yes,
say is
yes.
that, like, it's pretty hard to say that something happened in the house when, like, he didn't go in the house. That's it, like,
Oh
his
yeah, you need evidence
GPS.
to prove that, and they've
Right.
shown none. So, like,
Like, you have to at some point, guys, like, I
congratulations.
get it. You want Karen to get off. You love her. You think she's a fucking
They like the
goddess.
story. Again,
Yeah,
it's about the
but like
story, not the
you gotta
reality,
move
man.
away
Like,
from
come
the
on.
house. Like just like you're never gonna get there if you keep saying that something happened in the house, because there's nothing that puts him in the house. There's plenty that puts him in the spot where he was found. Right? There's nothing that
Yep.
put, like, even Karen has never come out and put him in that house. Like the GPS doesn't put him in the house. Not one witness puts him in the house.
No.
Nothing.
This will
Right?
this will blow your minds, guys. But opinion isn't evidence. Okay, no matter how entertaining you find it, when it's sandwiched with a whole bunch of meows, it's not reality because somebody crows about it on repeat. You know what I mean? Doesn't make it any more true the more times you say it. You know, you're reaching. It's ridiculous.
Like, I mean, again, the majority of the jury didn't buy any of this shit. That's a pretty
No.
good indication. It's not
After
gonna
all
go the
that
way.
attempt, yeah, to
Right.
sway the jury's opinion, it still ended up in a, nope. Come on.
Frank Perry has a good question. So if they call Mr. Reed as a witness, that means he cannot view the trial until he is done. I would say no. I know that's probably a talking point for Free Karen Reed right now, that this is some sort of nefarious plot to harm the Reed family. But I would point to Paul O'Keefe and Aaron O'Keefe. They both testified, but because they were a family of the victim, they were allowed to stay in the courtroom. They were not sequestered, even though they testified. I would assume that the same would be for Mr. Reed. Possibly they might do sort of like a hybrid exception, depending on, sort of the concentration of his direct and cross-examination. If they, I can see them saying, well, we'll get you done first and then you can sit through, so it doesn't, I don't know. All I'm saying is that it's highly unlikely, based on the accommodations they made for O'Keefe family members, that they would preclude Mr. Reed from, sitting through the trial just because he testified. They'll probably work around that.
Right.
And that's the thing, like, the Commonwealth is not out to get this woman. They're treating her just like every single. I can't even
No.
say that. I can't even say that they're treating her like every other criminal defendant, because she gets a lot more accommodations than most criminal
Yeah.
defendants. Well, that's why, like, even my conversation with that JFK and Jesse guy, I was just sort of like blown away. These are two
got some
guys
of
that
that.
have seen the business end of the criminal justice system, though. And, like,
Yeah.
I know they weren't treated like that. I know I've never been treated that good. I know that most people
Right.
aren't. Like, people should be outraged by that. You shouldn't be able to
The disparity
purchase.
or disparity.
Right. The disparity.
Disparity.
Yeah. But
Clown.
like, justice should not be for sale.
Right.
A courtroom should be the
Either
one
should
place.
witness intimidation. That shouldn't
yeah.
be for sale either.
But I mean, like, there's only and I think I agree with Matt Valentinus, who said, when he was on Yellow Cottage Hills, the system has really failed us, and that they've
Yes.
allowed this to continue. I agree with that.
Yes.
But outside of that, just what happens in the courtroom is supposed to be so insulated from everything outside of it, right? The courtroom should be the
Ideally.
one place where you go, where you're stripped of all pretense and all privilege, and you're treated exactly like everybody else. And
Right.
that's not
That's the
happening
idea.
for Karen Reed.
Yeah.
And people should
No.
be outraged by this, because, like, the amount of resources and time and money and accommodate and everything that she has sucked out of the system, right? Like, nobody else is getting that. She's taking, and she's not giving back.
Nope. Nope. Not even for the McPoyles. She's not giving back to none of them either. They're not allowed in.
And,
They got to sit
it's-
outside.
Yeah, it's disgusting to me, you know, again, how much this has been allowed and how there's fear, this almost paralyzing fear within the system. You know, we have a system that's comprised of people whose careers and lives are heavily dependent and contingent on reputation. So the
Hmm.
kryptonite to that is somebody like Turtle Boy that comes around and says, "I will stop at nothing to destroy your reputation," right?
Right.
And what a disgusting, pathetic weakness that this system has, but it's been exposed. If there's one thing that Turtle Boy has legitimately exposed, and
Hmm.
certainly not through hard work and gumshoe investigation, but through his own malfeasance, to borrow a term from Karen, but like,
Ah,
is that
right.
this vulnerability within the system is unacceptable. Quit your
Yeah, it
job. I
is.
can't. I couldn't agree more with Matt Valentine. If you're a prosecutor or an attorney or a judge that has capitulated or backed away from this at all because of fear of reputational
Yes.
harm, quit your job.
Yeah.
Quit your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was directing that towards the anybody within, law enforcement or the judicial system, lawyers, whoever. It's under. I think he noted that too. That it's understandable when a regular citizen says, I'm in fear, and that might change the course of what they do, or what evidence they do or do not share. Now it's regrettable, but it's more understandable. It's less forgivable and understandable when your job is to face these things in
Yep.
court, is not to fold because somebody's going to say mean words about you.
Right.
That's ridiculous. He's
It
I,
is
I
their
agree
job to
completely
protect
with
the
Valentine. Yeah,
the criminal justice system
I agree with him.
is the last line of defense, right? Because
Yep.
you can't just go and physically assault you. I mean, we are not encouraged, it's not appropriate, it's not legal to take these things into your own hand, right?
Right.
So the last line of defense that people have, this is like at the crux of the criminal justice system here, right? This is that they turn to the authorities, the police, the courts, and they are supposed to intercede and step in, and that is not happening here. No, I mean, the system charged Karen with a crime. They had probable cause to believe she committed Morrissey's emails. Like, that's the standard, right? And she handed it to them when she made admissions at the scene. And certainly it was solidified by the taillight pieces near this man's body and the damage to her vehicle and the timeline of events and the digital forensics and the DNA forensics and everything else that came together and put this case. I mean, like, she's still innocent right now, legally,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's the presumption that she gets.
That's correct. Yeah. That's
But
the way
there
it
was enough
goes.
probable cause to charge her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then indict her afterwards. Correct. The indictment came after.
Right, and that's the other thing too, is when she was
Yeah.
indicted, that was out of the government's hands and into a panel of 23 of her peers, at least 12. I
Right.
think I think it was a unanimous vote for her, if I recall correctly. She was indicted unanimously. Not that that's necessary; you only need 12, but
Right.
she was indicted by her peers.
Mm-hmm.
The case is compelling enough. I mean, again, like, you've got probable cause down here, and we go up to beyond a reasonable doubt to convict,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, if you've got 3/4 of the jury convinced that it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, it's not enough to convict. I mean, to convict, right? Like, you need a unanimous vote, but that
Mm-hmm.
kind of reiterates that there's at least probable cause to charge her. If you get to that stage and that many people are saying, yep, beyond a reasonable doubt, the
Yeah.
numerous motions to dismiss that were filed and then denied by the court indicates that the probable cause definitely did, exist. They
But
tried
but
several times.
wait.
It was reaffirmed every time.
What about the feds?
Yeah,
What
but
about the
they're not
feds?
coming.
Aren't they supposed to
That's
stop the
done. Yeah,
trial? They were supposed to
yeah,
stop the
that's done.
trial because they had evidence that would, halt it, right?
Right.
That never happened. Didn't they, what was it, 4,000 pages or so was turned over? And it was determined that there was no exculpatory evidence in there.
There's a
So the
little
trial went
bit.
forward.
They found a little bit.
What did they
Well,
find?
that's the thing, is like exculpatory evidence. You can have exculpatory evidence and still have the trial go
Right.
forward, right? Like,
Okay.
exculpatory evidence isn't necessarily evidence that proves your innocence or proves you not
Oh,
guilty.
okay.
It's
Okay.
evidence that is beneficial, that,
I was
that
a little too
creates
black
some
and white
reasonable
with that.
doubt, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was a little bit. I mean, they found Proctor's texts where he
Right.
called her a cunt. I mean,
Right.
that's exculpatory on it. But
Right.
that's all
Right.
they found. They didn't find
Right.
any communications indicating any sort of coordinated effort to cover up any murders or frame her or anything like that.
Right.
I think it's 3,400 pages, and the Judge Canone, who, despite people's gripes with her because they don't understand the system, she is the neutral fact finder in this, right? Like,
Right.
that's what the court is. They're neutral. And she said, can't find the third party culprit. Right? Because
Yeah.
there is none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That no, there was no evidence. No evidence for that. So I guess yeah, they didn't find enough strong exculpatory evidence that would warrant halting
Esoteric
the
Empire says
trial.
Sean needs to go full heel on Karen and he will gain all of his followers back. Plus, I'm never like, I don't want to force other people. You gotta understand, like, this is like, I know that Karen Reed is responsible for this man's death. And that's like one thing. And I mean, I definitely feel for his family. These things happen. No, I mean, like, it's her actions after the fact. I also know that she's a pretty terrible person, and there's probably some intent there. If not when she killed John, then definitely everything she did afterwards, right? These are
Hmm.
my beliefs. I wouldn't even call them beliefs. It's knowledge to me. Like, it's pretty clear. I'm not going to force that on other people. I talk to people who are still, they're not free Karen Reed in the sense that they've walked away from the cult, which is like,
Right.
that's the best thing for everybody. You can have I've
Yeah.
said this from the beginning. You can have your opinions about this case. It doesn't, like,
All day
that's
long.
fine, right?
Yep.
It's the harassment, the smearing, the dog
Exactly.
piling that
Yes.
everybody in that group does together. That's
Yeah.
the problematic part. So if you walk away from that and still think like Karen's innocent, cool. Like,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
I don't believe in
Like,
I don't
but-
believe in thought crimes. No, I
Right.
mean there's things that people
Yeah.
believe that you might find disgusting. Like how could you believe such a thing, or you'd be outraged if you knew your friend thought this about that. That's a thought crime. You can think crazy shit, as much as you want to, but it's your behavior. It's what you do with those beliefs, right? If you keep them to yourself, or I mean, even share the ideas and whatnot, sure. But I mean, like, I don't know, screaming outside.
Oh, we lost him. Why did he just dropped off? There we go.
How anybody could justify that kind of shit.
You dropped off for 10 seconds there, but I think I got the gist of it. Yeah, that's it.
That's all right.
It's the action.
I'm bloviating.
It's the action. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the actions all the way through and through.
M.A. Seti says the TV interviews were smart because the viewing audience is the potential jury pool. That's why I think they weren't smart, honestly, though, because like I think that the free Karen Reed people are viewing all of these interviews through their own lenses. And so they're really missing what I think a lot of other people are catching. And again, I'm not just saying that because of my opinion. I read comments on articles and videos, and I go outside of just the free Karen Reed and kind of see other people that aren't so personally invested what they're saying.
Yep.
And a lot of people have caught on to the fact that her stories keep changing. She's not likable.
It's
She
not
doesn't
only
show
that-
a lot of
yeah.
remorse. She
Yeah.
doesn't cry. I mean, like, it's a double-edged sword there. Like, yes, you're broadcasting this to the maybe 10% of the population that would be inclined to believe her, but you're also
Yes.
broadcasting it to the 90% that wouldn't. And a lot of those people could make the jury more than the people, because I feel like the people who think that she's innocent go so far in it, they're never going to make it on a jury. There are plenty of people
No.
that just casually go, oh, that woman probably did it, and they walk away and they're not invested enough that they could still get on a jury. And they
I
already
I think what you're saying there is it's on point, right? Like, yeah, that could backfire, double-edged sword.
Right.
You could, yeah. I get what you're saying there, but I think even more importantly, or in Karen's case, worse for her, is it's not so much the people you could have convinced that you're guilty that might be in your jury pool.
Right.
It's that now Brennan is looking at all of it, and he's now asking for the redacted interviews. He's now
You're right.
looking at what you said. He's now highlighting all of your inconsistencies as evidence and showing a pattern of your deceit, especially when it pairs up, or it just so happens to fall in line after certain discoveries are made. Like, oh no, I didn't go to the side door. After all, that makes you look real bad, makes you look crazy as shit. Right? You're not with it.
Right.
I think that's more of a problem for her.
No, you're
And
right.
God knows what they're gonna find in that unredacted information, which there does seem to be a fair amount of it coming.
And to be
So
fair, yeah, because I mean, like, ideally in a jury, like the way the system is supposed to work, even if they had seen Karen Reed on an interview,
yeah,
they're supposed to put that aside,
right,
whichever way they view it, and just
right.
deal with the evidence in court. Yeah, and I think the problem is then that, like, she's it's not so much that you're right. It's not broadcasting to potential jurors that really moves the needle one way or the other at all. Enough for a
Broadcasting it to
mistrial.
Brennan.
Right.
Like,
right, right,
and he's
right.
not a stupid man. He's very sharp.
Yeah.
Very, very sharp. So I would say that's a mistake. That's a cell phone right there. You know, complete cell phone. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah. So I know she's got some court dates coming up, right?
Hmm. There'll be some. Well, yeah. I mean, they've got a few more pretrial hearings before it's all said and done. It's gonna be crazy. I can't wait to find that. Those are the two things that I'm sort of most waiting for, is that unredacted interview information, and then the chip on, right? Chip on, chip off. The chip on. That's very interesting.
Absolutely. All right. So
Feel like we did it for the night.
I think we did it for tonight.
I
If
think we
you
did it for
guys
tonight.
don't
Yeah.
belong to our Discord, you're probably
And why
smart
wouldn't
for
you?
that.
Hey,
Right? Hold on. I got to.
it's a den of rubes.
Yeah, I gotta see. Am I actually signed in here now? Hopefully. All
What
right.
you talking about?
I'm gonna try to share the Discord link. This is the first time that I've tried to chat in the chat from Streamlabs, so it's always something exciting and new that
That's
we're
right.
doing.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
pushing boundaries. We're taking risks.
Innovation. So
Ooh.
you could join our Discord. That would be all right.
You
We
could.
usually go in there, and we have been making a goddamn college try to
Yes.
at least talk in there for like 20 minutes after the show with people, because we
Yeah.
like you guys. We really do.
Yeah.
I just get tired. But if
We
you
are
want to
also
join,
embattled and tired people.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do pop in now. Yeah, we're absolutely.
and
absolutely.
usually get a little stoned after the show too. So whatever.
Oh, I don't know. Me,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe a little.
not. You, totally. Yeah.
Fuck off. Yeah, so if you want to join us in there, we're going to go into voice chat and we'll talk to people for a little bit. If you want to shit on us, like
Yeah.
Christine or Waffle House or who, I haven't been paying that
We're
close
Germanic
attention, so
that
I
way.
can't
We
rattle off
enjoy
her.
it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but you guys, if you're free Karen Reed and you want to come into the server and just
Yeah.
spar, that's fine too.
Call me
Keeps
names.
things
It'll be
interesting.
fun. Yeah.
California native, yeah, come say that to me in voice chat.
What is it? I
Tell
missed
me I'm
it.
a loser. Like, you don't have
Oh,
to do it face to
shit.
face. I know you're too scared for that. Say it with your voice. sir.
Loser. Call
Verbally.
me a
Let it come out of
loser.
your mouth and hit my ear holes. I bet you won't. But if you do, I'm going to Discord voice chat. That's where I'll be. Hope to see you, California native. I hope you're not a